What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Major League Success. I have the one and only Larry Schottenstein with me today. And Larry, I'm super excited because we've been social media friends for a while. I've got to learn from you from over the last really year and a half, 2 years from being on Clubhouse and you coming into the rooms. And I know you do a lot for our community as real estate agents, with teaching CEs and being a broker owner. But Larry, you're with Remax Revealty, broker owner of that company. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to jump on here to talk about your journey into this business and the success that you had or that you have had and will continue to have moving forward as you continue to grow.
I appreciate that. Does that mean I could leave out the non-success things?
Well, look, this whole conversation is really to show agents, and I and you and I connect on a lot of things, is really to show agents, there's not one way to be successful. There's not one way to get into this business, right? We all do things a little bit differently. And it's really just to show people that, look, you don't have to go out there and be the top agent over here or be the top agent over there. And you can really create it and do your own thing, your own way. So yeah, it's all about the success and all about the struggles because we can't dodge those.
Can't dodge them. People like to smooth them over. But when I talk to agents, I'm always like, are you achieving your full potential? And I think that's what it is. Whatever that potential is, it's the full. Like first time I ran a marathon, it was the finish. My full potential was not to walk. So there you go.
Yeah. So Larry, we always start out, on the Tell Me More podcast with growing up. Really taking it back. And when I interview agents, on here, I find that a lot of agents actually don't slow down to reflect on the journey, right? Of some of those big decisions or life events or things that have caused them to lead to this point. What was life like for you growing up, in school, high school, going, out of high school into college or into the career field?
Yeah. I have a very large family. I have 32 first cousins. I probably have 100 cousins. And yes, we are all related to Schottensteins. And no, the rich ones don't throw their pocket change at me because their cup runneth over with money. So everybody that I know pretty much growing up as a family was in some business, entrepreneurial. One cousin was a lawyer, one was a doctor, but it was, we like to call it the schmata business in Yiddish, rags, clothes, real estate, that kind of stuff. So I grew up as a kid down on Parsons Avenue. My dad had a small furniture appliance store at one end of the street, my grandfather at the other. And yeah, so that's kind of how it went.
So, school and going through high school, did you have any hobbies, interests? Were you an entrepreneur from the very beginning yourself, or is it something that you came into later on in life?
Nah, not really. Not at first. My entree into real estate was with my grandfather when you were 16, and I was close with my grandfather. Drive him around, and I'd get paid to go collect rent on Parsons Avenue. If that tells you something, the kind of tenants we had, you had to collect the rent, In retrospect, why they let a 17-year-old, little Jewish kid go down to Parsons Avenue and have, a ton of money in his pocket in the 70s, God knows. But, And then, from there was kind of the thing to go in my dad's business, and he was in real estate development. So that was always kind of my goal coming out of college.
And what did you specifically go to college for?
Education or to get out of town or what? I got my degree in finance.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you get to use that a little bit in what you do today. Like I always find like the college question quite interesting because I went to college and 3.5 years later, I got a degree and I didn't do anything with it. Right. I just jumped into real estate and it was, for me, a waste of money. And, that's part of my journey of how I got into the business was because of what happened in college and changing courses and degrees and all that kind of stuff. So, so you went for financing. Ultimately, the goal it was to kind of go into the father's business of development, real estate development. Is that the track that you really did do, or did you find out of school that you want to do something else?
That was the track I did. And if I can be honest, that's probably one of my few regrets. I don't look back on life and, oh, I should have, would have, but not the best idea. That was my dad's, everybody works together. And I was like, oh, okay, why not? I didn't really know any better. So I went into my dad's, and my brother and I, and we were doing real estate development, property management, building lots of apartments. And my dad was into the urban thing, which wasn't a bad idea. We were just real early in it. So we built 90, 100 apartments downtown, like kind of way before anybody else was really doing that. And to keep it short, family dynamics were not beneficial to a long-term success.
Yeah, I'm sure, that can be hard at times. Yeah, I can't, I always joke that there's no way that I could ever work with my wife. We just, we work together well, in the at home life. But if I had to go to work, her and I would just butt heads probably. We're just different people in that regard. So I can definitely see that. Ultimately, what led you to pursue real estate? Did you leave the family business and jump right into the real estate side of things, or did you have another career choice?
Yeah, no, I mean, we were doing real estate, but development and things like that. And then I saw the writing on the wall. So I ended up going into the residential brokerage as a side thing. My mom was a broker with HER in the day. And then so she became my broker, and I had another partner. So it was kind of my exit strategy, was to get into the residential component. And that's kind of how I eventually unpeeled myself from that. And then I was probably independent brokerage for 15, 18 years, something like that.
What I'm just curious. Normally when I ask people about getting into the business, right? Did you have supporters? Did you have doubters? For you, obviously, I'm sure you had supporters just because of the family history and things like that. But did you really thrive? Did you have supporters? Did you have doubters? What did you thrive on?
Well, I thrive on doubters. I didn't need supporters. I'm very driven. So honestly, I wasn't looking for supporters or doubters. I just realized I needed to do something, and I used that to do something in a direction that I liked. So,
Yeah.
It worked very well for me.
And what made you specifically go more of being in the broker owner side of things as opposed to, just real estate agent being at a brokerage?
I guess my nature. I'm okay with being in control or running things, and I've always had kind of an anti-view of stuff. Like, back in the day, I was really into buyer agency. That was an up and coming thing, and instead of everybody worked for the listing agent, and so I've not always interesting. Sometimes it serves me well, sometimes it not, is bucking trends a little bit, like being really early in downtown development and kind of being early into buyer agency. That kind of stuff can work well, but sometimes the first to the show doesn't always benefit the most. So I've had some learning curves along the way. So
Yeah, let's dive into those. What were some of you're the second broker owner I've ever had on here, right, to share their journey. And I think it's a unique path. And I think, a lot of times agents see that as the next step in their growth, right, in their potential of what they want to do with the business. But what were some of those successes, early successes and early struggles? Like, what were some of the teaching moments?
We'll talk about that, then we can get back to agents, whether they should be a broker or not. The biggest teaching moment was 2008, and having an anchor tied around my neck and someone dropped me off a boat in really deep water. So it was a horrifying experience. I was doing well in development and really just learned the lessons of how banks work. I had a condo that was halfway built, and the market crashed, and rented the rest of them out, paying the mortgage. And the bank said, "Yeah, you're in default. We'll just take it back because we can make more money." So, I've literally had a whole development taken out from underneath me when, I was able to make the payments, but they didn't care. So I've learned to really be careful about the risk, because the returns are good, but people don't realize the returns are good because the risks are real. And sometimes things will change against you and you can't control it. So be careful about what exposure you have to debt and to risk. I'm not saying don't take risk, but don't be sitting there counting the money and thinking about, oh, look, I can do this, this, and this, because things change. And, be prepared.
Yeah. And I think too, you see the progression of a real estate agent, right? It's, they're getting into the business and then they start picking up business and they're starting to crush business. Then it's like, okay, I want to go and now build a team, right? Because I have all of these problems that I need to solve for. And then, the team turns into, I need to go start my own brokerage. But I think too, what you just said there is a lot of people don't factor in the the risk of growing, the responsibility that you have, with that. And I think sometimes, my coach always tells me it's problems are, never go away. It's just what problems do you want to solve for? You have a whole different set of problems that, someone running a team does versus someone with an individual agent. So what are your thoughts on the progression of a real estate agent and, whether or not, building a team or going and doing your own brokerage is the right move?
I think people need to repackage and rephrase the question. They're jumping to solutions without really understanding what the real essential question is. The essential question is, do I want a real estate business, and what do I want a business to look like, and what business do I want to be in? So if it is, hey, I really like handling clients, I really like doing transactions, and I don't really like managing people, then having a team or a brokerage is a terrible idea. Now, what you should then do is, what can I do to scale and get help so I can do more of the things I like? Okay. I have agents, like I've talked to agents doing 4 or 5 million, which is okay. And they got 3, 4 people coming up on a team, and it makes my head spin. I'm like they have no way or understanding of onboarding and how to get them productive, because they're not highly productive yet, So people do things, I think, for a lot of the wrong reasons. If the goal is, hey, I'm okay with handling clients, but I'd rather not, and I'd rather scale in other ways and make money from other people, now you need to step back and go, well, what are the most effective ways of doing that? Okay. So is it a team? And then how do I really manage it? And how do I become productive with it? And who's going to help me? Because I always believe there should be a who in everybody's business. Everybody needs a who to help you get to the next level. Okay. And I see you doing that. I mean, you're out there coaching, mentoring, and things. You're trying to be the who to a lot of people, which is smart. And then a lot of people go, I want to be my own brokerage. I go, well, there's 2 different businesses. Are you really, most brokerages, honestly, are not highly profitable. And, are you really designed to, handle all the nuances and little stuff that comes up? And it's a path a lot of people haven't really thought through.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think everyone likes the idea of those things, but they don't, like you said, they don't really consider of what do I want my business to look like? And I think the majority of agents, this is part of the problem of our industry. The majority of agents don't actually run a business. They have a job, right?
Oh, for sure.
They're not running a business. And I had this conversation yesterday with an agent, and it's like, you can build, and this is why I love having different people on here, different real estate agents and because everyone does it differently. But you said the key thing. What do you want your business to? There's so many different ways to grow your business. There's so many different ways to build out a team. You don't have to go and get 20 agents. Right. You could be highly leveraged and have 2, 3 admin and 5 showing agents if you just wanted to be the main person, right? And now you're doing it that way. So what do you think really holds people back from turning their real estate job into a business?
I think a lack of understanding of how to do it, not having a proper who or advice or coach or brokerage that's really there to really guide them through that. Okay. Personally, I think this is a generalization, meaning not all brokers, but I think the model is designed that brokers like it when an agent wants to do that, because it brings more bodies into the business. And most brokerages are in the body count business. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they get more encouragement than discouragement. Okay. And the problem I like to think of is I call it goals, strategies, tactics. So, and if someone says to me, I want to build a team, they're starting with the tactic, the end, but they've left out what the strategy and the goal is. So back to what you and I were just discussing is the goal is, do I like doing transactions? Do I not? Do I want to create leverage and how? Then you develop a strategy and then you work into the tactics of what kind of team? Do I need just an admin? Do I need a buyer's agent? Do I want to manage people? You know, all that kind of stuff. So I think people just kind of start at the end, not build it to get where they want to go piece by piece.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of agents, like what you just said, they don't think far enough out into the future. One of the things that, Ryan has taught me is we look 10 years in advance and we start doing some of those things today. If we wait till year 9 to start putting those things in place, we're just too late. Right. And a lot of agents don't think forward enough, and then they don't necessarily have the capital or the people, the resources to actually start implementing those things today to get them to where they're really trying to get to in 10 years.
Yeah. And what investments am I making to get where I need to go quicker? So when I started my RE/MAX journey, it's now my 7th year. We started with 3-4 agents. We're the largest RE/MAX in Central Ohio at this point in time. And when we started, I immediately hired a outside business coach. Back to that, I believe everybody needs someone to get you where you want to go quicker. And it made my head spin at first, like job descriptions and how do I want my business to look? And all of it was my partner and I. We had all the jobs and organizational chart was us, but we had a vision in mind and we built towards that. So for me, I'm barely involved in my day-to-day operations. That was my goal. Like my company actually exists better if I don't get involved in where's the check and how does this get processed. So I'm in my lane, which is business development, growth, being the face of the organization, that kind of stuff.
I think what holds a lot of agents back, and this is just the nature of our industry and how it's set up, that real estate's typically not someone's first career choice, right? It's usually their second, third, fourth, fifth, down the line. And, we don't have in this, I'm very, honest. I would not be in the business if I didn't land in the right spot in the very beginning with Ryan. Like I didn't know anything about sales, didn't know anything about marketing, for sure didn't know anything about real estate, right? For sure didn't have capital to pay for coaching. For me, I always tell people I got lucky. And I think that's where a lot of people in our industry lack, is because they don't have the marketing skills, the business skills, the sales skills to really sit down and map those things out. And I saw this stat recently. I think it was like not a survey, a study of like 20 or 30 SaaS companies that, went public, right? Went IPO, and the average founder in those scenarios owned about 13 or 14% of their company when they decide to go public. And I think a lot of times in our industry, agents are so caught up on, I have to control everything. You just mentioned that your brokerage runs without you.
Yeah.
How did you get to that point
of
how did you get to that point of truly trusting people and delegating to let them go out and do their thing and what they're good at?
Oh, well, because it was done by design from the beginning. Because of having a coach and knowing where we wanted to go, impossible to do on my own. Plus, I actually think here's where agents make a mistake. Delegating properly and having a business and systems designed to manage it actually gives you more control, not less control. Because you can't handle more volume and more activity if you do it all, then things actually become out of control. I also found it more rewarding to build the business because it's more difficult than it is handling a transaction. I found the creativity in the business building to be what moves and generates me. And I get more satisfaction out of having really good staff who are better at those things than I was when I was doing it. So to me, the reward is getting other people to step in who turn out to be better. And in the analogy is what I'm giving to you as a broker in a business is really should be the same for an agent building a team or wanting to growth and build their business, brokerage or not. Okay. Like get satisfaction out of having successful people work for you who help you really move and everybody wins. Like there's a lot of pleasure in that for me.
Yeah, and I think too, you have to really understand and lean into what you're good at. What do you enjoy doing? What are what are you the best in the world at, in your opinion, right? And then everything else that you're not great at, find those people. And I always say if they're 80% of me, then that's a win, right? And I think a lot of people get so concerned about, oh, what if they screw up over here? What if this happens over here? At the end of the day, and you've been in the business longer than me, you've been in way more transactions than me. There's not one thing that's going to make or break your career or be this big traumatic experience that you're gonna potentially, you could lose your license, but there's really not that, right? If you're training them, right, you're putting the things in place, the systems, all of those things. There's checks and balances to that.
Yeah. I would tell you something that's analogous for the agents who are listening. If you're trying to grow, the number one thing that will help you get there quicker is to bring in a transaction coordinator, in my opinion, and to give up that $20 an hour work. Now, I can't tell you how many agents I talk to. I'm a control freak where they do it as well. My clients like me and I'm like, you have no idea because you haven't done it. You just need to listen to someone else who's already been there and could tell you, and get out of your own way sometimes. Honestly, it was an epiphany for me. I remember being with a whole group when I was starting in Remax, went out to Denver, and this is where I was talking about this. And I said, well, I don't have a transaction coordinator. And I just remember this person saying just like this, you've never done it. I've done it for years. Just do it and get out of your way. And I'm like, oh, okay. And they were right. Too many agents have a preconceived notion without having any idea because they've not done it. Sometimes you just need to go, what do I want to become? And does this make sense? And how do I get out of my own way and listen to people that have been on that journey already?
And honestly, I feel the same exact thing with a showing agent.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys are wanting to scale and maybe you don't want to bring in actual agents to manage, right? One of the best things that you could do is go and hire someone to do all of your showings for you. Because I don't know your thoughts on this, Larry, but to me, showings cost me money. They don't really make me money, because 99% of the time we're not writing offers on the houses that we show. There's only going to be 1 or 2 homes that we write offers on out of 10, 15, 20, 25 that we actually do show. And I think that is one thing that you can buy back so much of your time, whether that's to put towards building your business, working in the business, on the business, or spending time with friends, family, and doing things that you want to enjoy in life.
For sure. One of the biggest things we did that really has helped is when we were early in our growth, we started an agent service division with on-staff transaction coordinators, listing coordinators, admins, and showing agents, and treated it like the Uber of showing. Make a request, we handle it, we bill, we take care of it. And not just doing you a favor, but made it very systemized and part of a business. And honestly, I think those are huge things that are value add. And people think that your clients have to see you all the time. If you structure it right, explain it right, manage it right, you're not abandoning the client, okay? You're just creating efficiencies, and people like that. I've had people after a while go, hey, can you have that other guy show me the house? I know I told you I don't want to look in Dublin and I don't want to waste your... People become more respectful of you, is my view.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I found at the end of the day, they just want to see homes, right? They don't necessarily care who's the person opening the door. They just want to see homes. And if you have that relationship and you set it up the right way, you're not going to have any issues and struggles with it. And, why do you think, Larry, that agents struggle with articulating that to the client?
They have a preconceived notion in their head of what people's expectations without ever experiencing it or doing it, or, having more perspective. Now, don't abandon your client. Don't just hand them off to somebody else. Okay.
Right.
Set the stage right. Show houses sometimes. I'm not telling you never show a house. Okay. But it's very easy to go, hey, John, I appreciate wanting to see the house tonight. And as we discussed, I can't be in 2 places at once. And as we discussed, when you hired me, you hired my system and team, and we got you covered. Like, no one's going to go, well, where the hell are you? I mean, Now, I don't have to tell them that, what I'm busy tonight is I decided to go watch my kid's game. They don't, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like what you just said there. When you decided to hire me, you decided to hire my system and my team. I think that is a great distinction right there, that as an agent you can make,
For sure.
and it's true, right? Like, you're still going to be involved. Here's another way to kind of look at that, right? What are the things that are that you have a direct impact on within a real estate transaction? And it's not a showing, right? It's not doing your paperwork. It's your buyer consultations, right? Your listing presentation, negotiating, right? Those are things that we can have direct impacts on. Opening doors or pushing paper, submitting things to the broker, putting signs out in the yards, putting lockboxes. Like, you have no direct impact on any of those things of whether or not it's going to create a deal or not.
Yeah. Honestly, I could look online and figure things out. I don't really need to go through every single house. I mean, but you're right.
Larry, what has been some of the, I know you said you came over to Remax, you've been at Remax for 7 years. What has been some of this, the process over the years of your growth side of the business? How have you focused on growing, your brokerage and or your real estate business?
Well, this is where the difficult part of being a broker is, for those of you thinking about it, is I've seen around the country, because I'm very plugged in around the country through the Remax network. I am also now on a kind of side gig, been hired by a company to coach brokerages of over 100 plus agents in North America. So I get to see the real inside of things. And I can tell you, it is extremely difficult to be a productive agent producing and to have a growth brokerage. The two things are almost diametrically opposed to each other. And as an agent, you can make money quicker and faster showing a house and getting in contract than you can hiring an agent and growing. And those two things are very difficult to align. My partner and I made the sacrifice of not pursuing production, instead pursuing the growth of a brokerage. We became what I call balance sheet oriented. Instead of looking at our income statement as much at first, like how much money am I coming in, we decided we wanted to build something that had value and wealth and could generate money without me having to actually do something every single day. And that is not, I can tell you, in a brokerage model, an easy thing to pull off.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it always goes back to what's the goal, right? For me, it's not to be selling real estate, forever. It's how can I put myself in a position to still be in the business, still be around the business, still having an impact in the business, but not necessarily having to be out, hitting the streets and the pavement and doing the hustle and bustle. But with that, it does take time to grow, like you said, and some sacrifices. And I think that's too, where a lot of people struggle in this business is the words are bigger and stronger than the actions, right? And the level of sacrifices that people are willing to take are sometimes not in alignment with what they say they want to accomplish.
That's for sure. Yeah. You and I are much more aligned of like, I'm okay not having clients for the, so.
Yeah. Larry, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and really look into the future of as far as how you want to continue to grow and move forward. What's something that you're really looking to accomplish, within the business in the next 12 months?
Well, to kind of reiterate, so our mission statement is to be the most progressive dynamic brokerage. I constantly am looking about how to differentiate myself. And this was really tough for me when I first started, because I'm like, well, what makes one brokerage different than the other? We all do the same things. Same with agents. Okay. And, but I've really learned how to create more of a fence around what I do, understand my value proposition, what makes me unique, and then try and work on those things and deliver products and services that are much more fit within that realm of what I do. So to me, it's a continual quest for that. And as I said before, that part is creative and that part is interesting to me. And I'm constantly driven by those dynamics. Now, in the next 12 months, because of the market cycle we're in, I would say the last 6 months, it's to survive. It's been a very difficult, what I call long, cold real estate winter. I talked to brokerages again all over the country. I'm in a chat yesterday with 20 brokerages around the country. And, one guy, what's my goal? He goes, yeah, just not to lose money this month. We've been able to restructure our business, realign ourselves. And here's a lesson I learned for me as a broker that's also a lesson for agents. The buoyant market we had will mask your inefficiencies because it's easy to sail when the wind's going your way. Now the wind's not going our way and the tide's not working with us. And now all the inefficiencies are showing and your weaknesses will show. The pie got smaller. And if you want pie, you got to eat your own and protect it. And maybe, I hate to say, nibble on someone else's. So I think this, what has happened, we've become stronger because we've had to look internally, create some things, restructure and reposition. And that has made a big difference now. And when the market starts turning spring 2024-ish, whatever, I think we're going to be extremely well positioned to take advantage of that. So for me as a broker, that's been my goal. And honestly, the analogy works for agents as well.
Yeah. I was at a conference recently and Ed Milet was the guest speaker and the keynote speaker. And, he said the reason why we're losing right now is because we're not competing. The reason why you're losing right now is because you're not competing. You're not going after it every single day. You're not getting after it every single day. You're not willing to, work on getting better, whether that's your objection handling, your listing presentation, your buyer consultation. So that way, when that opportunity shows up in front of you, you're truly competing for it. You're really, pissed off or upset or whatever the case may be when you don't get that listing because it's going to feel and sting a little bit more than what it used to.
I
think
agree.
Sometimes, some people are just still stuck in their ways. And then a second to that, I'm curious of your thoughts on this. I was on a coaching call on Friday with a coach that does a lot with team leaders and broker owners across the country. And you know him as well, John Cheplack. And he mentioned that, a lot of the top teams across the country that he coaches or in Canada, across the globe, they've had about a 70-75% turnover of agents that used to be with them. And now we have a new set of agents. And, his whole thing is you have to be willing to always find people to replace, the agents that may not be producing. I found that to be quite interesting and I don't know if the stat's true, but, that was the number he threw out that is, that a high turnover of, really going out and finding those productive agents in this market.
Yeah. And obviously that may apply more to larger mega teams that have 15, 20, 30, 40 agents. You're going to have a recycling approach. You just are. Okay. One of my main things when I'm working with teams, because we've really invested in the last year with a whole team format and through Remax, we have a thing through Viral Workman and he only coaches teams. So we're able to kind of take all those tools and apply them. And I think a lot of team leaders don't really think of a retention strategy when they start, or the retention strategy is just to give away more money. And if you don't have the right margins and you're just retaining people by paying them more, I just don't see the point if you're not really, getting the margins you deserve as a team leader.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a new wave of value propositions that brokerages are going to have to bring to the table and that team leaders are going to have to bring to the table for their agents.
I would go into the same analysis for me. Hey, if you're a team leader and you really want to build a team in dynamics, what are your differentiators? What does make you different? What is your retention strategy? Here are the margins you should get. How do you design a business to get the margins you earn and deserve? I've talked to team. I remember talking to a team, 4 people doing $40 million. And once he defined to me what the team looked like, I didn't think he was making money, as in a profit. A profit is I can make money without having to have a transaction. He viewed it as beneficial because they covered the overhead. I'm like, if that's your goal, you're nailing it. If your goal is not to have to show and close and make money, then you're not. Pick your goal.
Yeah.
All right.
Larry, what's something that you're looking to accomplish in the next 5 years?
I want to do, I really like this lane I'm in of coaching other brokerages through North America. So I think I'll be expanding on that. And that's not going to take over what I do. Um, Fortunately, my wife got into real estate. So we have the Schottenstein group. So she's kind of handling the client aspect. So that certainly frees me up more. And I want to continue to be the most progressive dynamic brokerage and to grow our brokerage. And I'd really like to find some more mutually win-win opportunities with other brokerages for merging together and solving problems together, where they could get out of the managing the day-to-day brokerage aspects and maybe do what they do best within the model they have. So like to be able to find more of those opportunities.
Yeah, and I think more of those opportunities are if the market continues, to stay tough, right? I think there's going to be a lot of more of those opportunities that are going to be presented.
Yes, I'm sure of it. The model I work with now doing the coaching, also we only coach brokerages, so we're not coaching teams and things like that.
Right.
Also has the one of the only, if not largest, merger and acquisition aspect. So I have a lot of perspective of how those things work. And you are right. I think this market will bring pressure, and a lot of brokers out there could be looking at what is it do I really want to do next, and am I really well suited? Is my brokerage really profitable, or could I do better doing it this way or that way? It's not an exit strategy. It's a how do I just get to what I want to do next strategy.
Right. Right. Um, Larry, what do you think? What do you think the market is going to be looking like over the next couple years?
To kind of reiterate what my coach was telling me yesterday, and I agree. I think we're still gonna. I think things aren't going to really do a lot of changing. I think things have kind of stopped going down. I'm seeing some improvement. It'll be slow, and I think we'll start seeing much more of a momentum switch by spring of next year. Personally, what I'm hoping for is that people have gotten used to the rate environment, more likely to jump into the market. People still have needs of housing and have put those on pause, and those will start moving in through the process, going into the pipeline. He thinks we'll have this is the word he used, unprecedented growth in the next several years. We'll have a very good run through starting in spring of 2024 for several years ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the one thing that maybe we're fighting right now in the industry is the consumer expectations of what they can even buy, right? What happened in 2020, 2021, the first half of 2022 was, people were going from their first home or not owning a home to that big home, right? They for the first time home buyer could potentially buy a 400, 450, $500,000 house because rates were so low. Right. And now the consumer expectations are still in that world, and they haven't really adjusted, in my opinion, they haven't really adjusted back to the reality of, the progression of owning a home. It was first home was just to get out of a rental situation. It was a starter home, right? Maybe it didn't meet all of my criteria, but it was better than renting. And then it was, okay, now we're going to move up to that next tier of home. And again, we're going to make some sacrifices, but it's, better than the starter home. And then it was moving up. And a lot of times we went from step 1 to step 4, right? Or step 1 to step 3. And we skipped those middle homes because of the low rates. And I think that's the biggest challenge that a lot of us are facing right now in the marketplace is really consumer expectations of what they can get.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and I would tend to agree. I think as we evolve here, people will get it more so, and they will have to move because they need a good school district or they've outgrown that. More life needs than I'd love to have that need.
Yeah, Larry, what's a legacy goal for you? What's something that you want to hit, when you're no longer here?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. What do you mean here? Like off the world into, or just out of real estate?
It's one of those things that this question was asked to me last year. And, in our business, I think a lot of people are like, okay, 5-year goal, 10-year goal, 25-year goal. Right. But, honestly, like I think about that a lot of what's that goal, what's that impact that I really want to leave in the world, um, when I'm not around.
The impact is to make changes in lives. Okay. I feel that I, through the conversations I have in the business, I'm able to make impactful things through what I've done in my life out of business. So, for example, my wife and I were foster parents and adopted two sisters, and things that we've done in life, and raised a service puppy, which I actually would like to do more of that as I go more older. Um, I just, I don't want to sit still. I want to make an impact into lives where I can. And I find that to be a very good legacy.
Last question for you, and I appreciate you taking time, out of your day to jump on here with me and to share, this journey and really your story of how you got into the business and where you're looking to go and the impact that you're trying to make. If you could give the audience, one piece of advice, about the business or getting started in the business or really growing their business, what would that piece of advice be?
Well, if I have to give the one piece of advice, I'm going to reiterate what I said before. Really think about what you want to be doing for the next couple years. Have a long-term view and a short-term view, and learn to find someone, whether it's a good broker, good mentor, a coach. You're going to make an investment somewhere, and find people that'll help you get where you want to go quicker. Think of it this way. Michael Jordan wouldn't have been Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen. Someone always has someone else that helps you get where you need to go. And have that goal in mind, that strategy in mind, and find those who's in your life that can help you accomplish what you want faster.
I love a key phrase that you said there. You're gonna have to make an investment somewhere. You know, it's not just gonna come free to you.
Yeah.
It could be an investment in your time. It could be an investment in your energy, right? It could be investment in dollars, right? It could be investment in, you know, whatever. But you're gonna have to decide to make an investment somewhere. I love that.
A brokerage choice is an investment. A coach is an investment. A mentor that you pay for, all of it, or time, as you said. Okay. Yes. One has to make wise choices, but you need to invest wisely to get where you want to go. Because saving money in real estate is easy. Making money is really hard. Really creating a business is really difficult. And it's not a journey that's just going to happen.
Yeah. Larry, thanks so much for jumping on here with me today. For those that are watching, if you guys have connected with Larry and his story, if you're looking to buy, sell, invest in real estate, make sure you reach out to him. If you are a real estate agent in the marketplace and you really want to connect with Larry, he is a wealth of knowledge and information, and I know he is always looking to give back and willing to help. He does a lot of CEs. He jumps on a lot of free trainings, and he is an open book. So if you guys connect with him, his phone number is down below. Make sure you guys reach out. I know he's there to pour into you and to help out. But for Larry, for those that are listening in, that want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
I sent $20 to my Venmo account. Give me a call. Google me, 614-325-4284. But you'll never remember that. I'm sure if you Google me, I'll show up.
Awesome, Larry. Thanks so much. Hey, I really appreciate it. If I could do anything for you, reach out to me. I'm here to help.
I appreciate it. I see some mutual things in our journey. So you're just starting at a much younger age, and you learn much quicker than I. So you'll do much better by the time you're an old man like me. So.
Well, it's one of those things too, like, this is really the first time that we're sitting down on a one-on-one type scenario. And, I hope people understand, like, you can learn from other people without actually having to be in a one-on-one situation, right? Like, there's a lot of things that I've learned from you over the last 2 years, just being around and just paying attention, and then, hearing you talk on different topics and things along those lines. So, I just appreciate you always coming into Clubhouse and into our community and sharing your words of wisdom and your thoughts, and at the end of the day, your willingness to truly help change the way our industry is and really help our agents become better, because that's what it's all about.
I
So
appreciate that. Thank you.
awesome, Larry. Thanks so much. If you need anything, let me know. I'm here to help.
I won't be shy.